Christian addiction with word associations. Alice equals angel. Rome, along with all civilization, was not built in a day, but over the course of time. The cement foundations of Rome are known to be built upon layers and layers of past foundations, past civilizations, past communications, and past languages. Now, with all that is known and understood, the big questions still seem left unanswered. Religion seems to have failed all understanding, and even through faith, what was once understood as a child, the logical brain will now not accept. If a belief requires accepting something unbelievable, how can it be known as truth? Remember, the only way to control someone is to lie to them. Now, again, let us go down a rabbit hole of existence. Through one path may many be found, leading directly back to the path of origin. Follow with me as we transgress through time and enjoy a reading of what could have been, what could be, and what may come. This may be a fiction, a non-fictional understanding through study and personal experience. These are solely beliefs and expressions of math, symbolism, English, and Spanish, brought about through a journey that first required suffering through a childhood with largely opposing degrees of loneliness and happiness. Once, love and existence were understood as fractured or possibly shattered. Did the world make sense? Because this place feels broken. The state of being hopeless seemed only inevitable, and if hope lies in forgiveness and a promise of what is to come, then where can one find this promise? Does the oldest written language, holding math, pictographs, and symbolism, tell an origin story that is scribed from a designer who created a clear picture of reality? Was reality changed? Layered, mirrored, complexified? Are many societies and families lost deep in the house of mirrors, built upon language and communication? Has humanity lost what was once understood as simple, clear truth? What does it mean to be the hues of humanity when looking through a looking glass of senses, emotion, and critical thinking? Is emotional energy real? Poor communication is when one hears another incorrectly or one misspeaks, but the brain does not hear what the mouth exactly said. This can be as simple as calling a family member by the wrong name. Usually, an individual hears this mistake and corrects it, but what if the mistake is made and the inner ear does not hear? Or when levels of emotional energy begin to heighten and a miscommunication occurs between two individuals, what is happening? What is the multiverse, and how is it equivalent to the power of human choice? When the emotion is building and becomes felt, almost tangible, each view and opinion is unseen, unagreeable, and each are demanding control. Even issues from the past may suddenly be brought to another's attention in the ensuing argument. It is as if they are living in different universes, colliding into one another as invisible but powerful forces. This is especially apparent because of the palpability felt, the tension in which one can feel between the two subjects' universes. Quickly the room fills with this presence. It's like a smell from a sixth sense. Craziness is about to ensue from one or both individual parties. Why? Think of reality as changing when each new choice is made. Each decision leads to a different place or path. In science, each new place a choice takes one is one universe among many potential or theoretical universes. The physical place shared currently is because of a chaotic series of actions led into a chaotic series of consequences. Chaos, the inability to recognize the design of or signage or signature, nature's SIG or SIG, These consequences from action mix and mingle and integrate with all other consequences of action, giving the reality we know today, which, once again, science has coined as the multiverse. Science states reality is splitting seamlessly and infinitely from what is now to what becomes now, the future. So, could it be agreed? The future is a multitude of different options coming available based on an immeasurable, insurmountable number of variables called choices. When actions are not chosen or are, the multiverse splits from what could be to what is decided. Based on what options become available, the new potential universes of the multiverse show themselves to the experiencers. Life is experienced as personal realities, all combined. Example, say a human chooses to jump from a bridge. Say the same human also chooses not to. There are two consequences for each scenario. Each of these choices leads the individual onto two different life paths, which can and will affect and effect other individuals. Like, say the same individual, when choosing to jump off the building, lands on someone below, crushing the body below. This choice not only affects the one who chose it, but the other human as well. The body, before being hit, thought it was living life as an individual self, and has now become a part of another universe in a shared experience of crippling force. This is our shared multiverse experience while living in our own subjective realities. Before a subjective reality can be known, what is self? For the sake of argument, here are Freud's understandings of the id, ego, and superego, made into word associations. Superego equals positive consciousness. Ego equals negative consciousness. And I would, equals subliminal consciousness. The multiverse expands as humans take each choice and act upon this will with their effort made in any direction through a possibly infinite number of choices during a life of time. This becomes chosen destiny of the self through time. Once thoughts are understood and choices can be made, and based on the will of the individual, will equals choosing a choice, the individual self will act upon this action. Previously referred to as a conscience or conscience, the two conscious forms of self, both positive and negative, leads one towards self's destined path. The other follows the shadow's path rather than the light's. If the person who thought to jump decides not to, the inside change of will or inner affect leads to specific action or lack of action, and ultimately the effect of the affect leads the thinker to a specific observable place in time and space shared by all, with all called now. We've now understood what can be done with it. If thinking is necessary, what is? One, to think about while in the new of the multiverse. There are many leading a thinker on what to think about, and it could be thoughts in the head of the thinker. Or never actually were the thoughts owned by the thinker, but borrowed or shared from others. Other what? Other shadows? Or light? What if, using the two parts of consciousness and some hidden help from the subconscious, the whole individual self decides what it will do based on the menagerie of thoughts? By using past associations, memories, and lessons learned from the past to decide the best potential outcome for the future of self. These outcomes from actions are the new universes popping up as the self winds and vibrates through a path in the jungle of time and space called the multiverse. To jump back into where we were, the jumper's universe who wholly decides not to jump ends up in a much different place than the same jumper who would have jumped. There is no arguing it. This is called truth. When a human has a subjective reality, the truths are only perceived truths, called beliefs. Personal beliefs can be called trusted, but are difficult to understand as knowledge to others unless one is convinced. Truth equals no, subjective reality equals personal universe, multiverse equals consequence of choice. Ever see that movie about a kid and a tiger stuck on a lifeboat after the ship sinks? That is a lot to do with this exact idea, and has much better imagery to help understand the forms of self. Is each choice made through critical thinking? If the time just before deciding any choice inside of self is critical thinking, then this critically thought out choice creates a totally new universe. Each new choice, one after the other, propels the old universe into a new one, seamlessly stitching all universes of perception into one, traveling through distance, which we know is called time. Time equals time. Time distance equals timeline. If time is an immovable force and choice is all we have to control destiny, then each choice is on a path towards destiny. Viewed as a varying personal universe through one's choices in the timeline of life. Through 5 or 6 sensory types of we'll call it data, called senses. The data of sense must pass through the self. This is where the past line of time combines, well, what seems to have been chaos becomes integrated information or learning. This data evolution or memories are the combo of both logic and emotion, combining the side being the positive force with the side being the negative force, while using a subliminal innocence, possibly to help the trajectory be triangulated. Triangulation equals using 2 points to guess a third. Quadulation, or quantum physics, using 3 points to guess a fourth. Life organized equals organism. Ism equals life, or ISM, or LIF. All living beings are subsequent destinies, making up the ever-expanding multiverse throughout the line of time. If destiny is the purpose to find, using choices within time, then destiny is the path of which one makes. Is choice, then, the most powerful part of existence? Does choice equal freedom? Do choices lead down a path? Is this path, am I right, a mirage or a combination of all choices at one time? These atoms are the current material reality we all live in today. Destiny equals a path through the multiverse, but found by choosing choices through the path of one's subjective universe or personal reality, perceiving or leading one to a distance or destiny yet unknown? End questions and conclusions. Is one the sum of all choice made from within? If the hues man share are the same universe in the multiverse, then why do both parties not agree? Of the two joining universes, each has a unique and free self to sense, understand, and choose actions created through personal choice by all humans and life. So with all actions being created by all of life, a perspective or view is shared because both agree on the shared reality. This is no longer a subjective state or subjective view, but a shared view. state equals view. 50 states equals 50 different views on life, love, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, the universe is a multiverse and is shared by all, which make choices through time. The self is you only when the two sides of consciousness are understood. A leap can then be made, connecting the subconscious to the two halves of self. How does one heal the past traumas that make holes in subliminal innocence? The inner child is giving a new understanding of reality, which one could call a rebirth, the path to enlightenment and healing. What if these two faces of consciousness fight each other now, currently? Would either know the other exists if self is not understood? Are mortals the understanding that there is an angel and a demon on either shoulder? Or are we both the angel and the demon? If so, is there a third part of spirituality other than the angel and demon coexisting inside? Is this third part a soul? And if yes, does the pineal gland really have the ability to bring the subconscious into nirvana in this life? Or is there heaven? Once, now's reality is no more. This battle that ensues inside, what is it? Is it real? Are emotions and feelings and thoughts real? If so, where do they come from? What if the two sides of self create the depth and feeling of choice? Science says to trust logic and control emotions. Be neutral, but what if the exact opposite is meant to be true? What is neutral, and when is discipline necessary in nature? When? If we trust our sensory data and emotions as clues, essentially to help build sensory data into information, then the trained idea of critical thinking is only an institutional practice, far from the reaches of the king of reason. Is it only heinous criminals who critically think when being interrogated, or is this a form of conditioning endemic in society as a whole? Is it any coincidence this reality feels off? What does one feel can be trusted these days? Are any humans in the inner circle of all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions alive in self? Is individualism the trained idea of disassociation or desensitizing? Is judging when one only sees the positive side of self? Are there holes in the inner child, the communicator, between the two sides of consciousness? What if the inner child is forgotten? Can either side of conscious clearly communicate or understand the other? What if the inner child is developed until around age 7 and then hides from the two developing parts of consciousness, also known as the left and right brain? Would any inner child hide if holes of trauma were being inserted? Simply put, when a person is being ugly, can the person see the self in its true light? What happens? Can the mirror in one be seen? Does one like what one sees? And if so, is one aware of vanity? Vanity equals ego. After listening and possibly re-listening, how does one feel now?